Hey everybody, welcome to J Stern Designs. Typically this is a Fit Tip Tuesday, but today I was so excited to share a new notion. Well, it's new to me. It's not a brand new notion, but it is a new to me. And I have to tell you, normally when I do my unboxing videos, I open it up in front of you and I explore it with you in real time as I open up the packaging. But I was so excited to see these. I kind of unboxed it ahead of time, so I apologize for that. But I'm still going to share all the fun with you. And I've been teasing you with this little green circle. And what this is one of the notions that they make. And it's a magnetic pin cushion that you stick onto your clothes. So it has a metal disc on one side that you stick onto the back of this through your clothes, and then you can carry your pin cushion with you without having it strapped to your wrist or attached or at your table, and you have to go back and get pins. Really helpful for me when I'm doing my pants fitting and I'm in front of my 2-mirror setup, but my pins are over on my table. Now I can bring my pins with me without needing to hold them or balance them on the edge of my table. And quite honestly, as excited I am about this, I'm even more excited about the other things I'm going to show you. So the name of the company that I'm working with today is SewTites. Okay, so these are the 2 packages of SewTites that they sent me. They're available in 12 packs and 3 packs of different types of magnets. And what they are is a magnet that you slide the backing off like this, and then you clamp it on or pin on to a project you're working with when you wouldn't want to use pins or when you can't use pins. Now, there are a lot of different things to think about here, and I know that these are very helpful for bag making, for example, or different quilting projects, but I'm going to talk to you about garment sewing and tricky fabric specifically today. These SewTites come in a variety of magnetic strength, and I really like their information that comes with magnets because it clearly will show you how strong each SewTite is. All right, so there's basically 5 or 6 different versions. They have some limited edition versions, but basically their original SewTites are a 2 magnet strength. And if we look at that, I have one right here. You can see the size magnet. Okay, so that's the size of the original SewTite. So the easy way to work with these is you slide them off each other like this, and then they come apart very easily. If you try to pick them off, it's virtually impossible to get them apart. So you slide the metal backing off, and then you clamp it or position it on your fabric where you're trying to pin something. So this would be the original, and you can see those are the size magnets on the underside. This is a Magnum version. It's a really long shape for quilting or things that you need a long contact with. And I'm going to slide this one off and show you. Okay, so these magnets look like that. And then there are also the HD version, which is the strongest magnet they have. This is a 4 magnet rated. And I'm just going to slide it off and show you. So you can see these have the biggest magnets. So even though the Magnum is the longest, it's a 3 magnet rating. So this is not as strong as this, but still very strong. And then you have the originals have a little bit of a smaller magnet. Then they also make a SewTites Light. Now these light versions are really helpful for people, like if you have arthritis or you have a hard time, your fingers have a hard time, these lights slide off much easier than the full than the full strength magnet. And that's, oops, and that's what the light looks like. Okay. They also make little dots. Now the difference between the dots and these other SewTites is that the dot has an all over magnet that looks like this. This is really cool if you're working with like wool applique or things where you need a bigger contact surface, and they work the same way. Okay, so we have all these different options, and what I want to talk about now is some of the things you can use them for. I'm just going to stick these all back on simply because I don't want to lose my metal backings. But guess what? If you lose your metal backings, they have replacement backings that you can get. So anyway, let me just show you. I'm just thrilled with these things. I also want to point out here, with any magnet type product, you want to keep them away from your kids and your pets, because if they eat them, that's not going to be good. And they do warn you about that in their packaging. So I'm just going to put that out there just so you keep these safe from young children and animals. You don't want to have them eating magnets because that's not good. I bet you're wondering, now that I've shown you all of these cool things, how would I use them? So if you follow along with me, you know I am really into making pants these days. So here is my linen version of my Sorsha Classic Slim trousers I'm working on. I may add a back pocket at some point to this pattern, and what I wanted to show you here is when you're sewing a patch pocket onto pants, you need to pin it to the back leg to sew it. And you can easily do that with pins, but what I wanted to show you here is if you position your SewTites away from the edge, then you don't have to remove them as you sew. And I can't tell you the number of times I've pricked myself on pins around the edge of a pocket because I'm sewing along and I don't want to remove the pins until I'm done top stitching so nothing slides. With these SewTites, you don't have any risk of pinning or pricking yourself. And I want to show you here, I quadrupled up this fabric. This is 5 layers of linen, and I just want to show you I can shake this pretty good and it stays put. I'm just going to show you here what I would do. Let's start this project over. Let's say I'm going to put this pocket, I'm just going to move all my pieces over here. Let's say I'm going to put this pocket onto these pants. What I would do is I would use my ruler to mark the position. So I'm going to mark the top edge. Let's pretend that's exactly where I want it. And I always go from my center back about 1.5 inches from the stitching line. So I'm just going to mark that one little thing. After I have that guideline, all I have to do is position my pocket so that it's even with those guidelines. Okay. And then I'm going to take my first SewTite, position it on the corner where I have my corner guideline, how far I want it, and then I'm making sure the top of the pocket stays even with my guideline I drew. And then all I have to do is pick it up like this and stick it on. Okay, and then I can double check and make sure everything is still in order. Then I would come down to my next corner and I would put my SewTite in place, make sure everything is nice and smooth, and then pick up all the fabric, stick that on. Once it's on, if I want to get it away from the edge, I can literally push the bottom and the top together. I don't have to keep picking it up and moving it around. I can feel for the bottom and sort of slide them along to get them where the position is good, because the whole goal is to not have to remove them when I'm sewing. So I've got 2, and again I'm checking to make sure my top edge over here is matching so nothing's going to slide. And then I'm going to put my next one, I'll put it over here. And again, I'm just going to pick it up, stick it on, and then double check that everything is okay. And then finally, I have one of the original ones. These purple ones are their hand sewing mix, and this is just a mini. Now the mini, interestingly, is a 3 magnet rating. So this mini actually has a little bit of a bigger magnet than the original ones. Okay, and then you can see I've got a very secure pocket. Nothing's going to shift. I can check my top guideline. It's still lined up exactly where I want it. And now I can sew around my edge without picking those up. So that would be one of the ways I would use these magnets. Now in garment sewing, there's another thing that you can use these for that have nothing to do with sewing. If you're working on a skirt or pants, a lot of times you want to let the fabric hang so it has time to relax before you mark your final hem. I used these Magnum size SewTites, and I basically clipped them onto the bottom of the pant leg along the side and inseam to help relax and let the side seam and inseam stretch. They work great for weighting hems when you're hanging them to allow them to relax before you mark your final hem and sew your hem. So that's another thing you can use these for. Another thing you can use these for are to hold pieces together that you don't want to pin together because it will leave a hole. One of the things I'm thinking of here is leather. All right, so I'm just going to fold this in half to show you. So let's pretend I had to sew this seam. And this is clearly just a scrap, but I just want to show you here, if I take these SewTites, line up my seam, and then attach them, you can see, let me put 2 here, you can see that it's going to hold my seam really nicely, and I don't have to bother with, using an adhesive or worrying about holes in my leather from pins. See how nice and secure that is? So that would be a cool way to work with fabrics that you don't want to leave holes. And leather is not the only fabric that has this problem. Any kind of laminated or coated raincoat fabric, any of those kinds of fabrics, using these SewTites to secure your seams as you sew will really come in handy. Now another thing you can do with these SewTites is use them for your machine embroidery. So I don't like to hoop my fabric when I'm embroidering, and especially if I'm working with something that might get marked if I squeeze it between the inner and outer hoop. So these work great for holding your fabric in the hoop. Okay, so once you've got it positioned properly, you can use these little SewTites to hold the fabric in the hoop. And in this case, all I have to do is lift up my whole hoop a little bit and get under there. But this does an amazing job. And then if you're working with a topper, like a wash-away stabilizer. Okay, so this is a wash-away stabilizer. I can stick that right in there. Now, you might hear it crunching a little bit. It is a little bit of, some of these I've had for a while in my stash. But basically, I just wanted to show you here that if you use these SewTites, it will also hold that topper in place so you don't have to pin or worry about anything shifting. Now, this just makes it so much easier to keep those in the hoop, all your layers, nice and easy. And to do this, I'm working with the SewTite lights. These are the easier ones to come apart, and they're still doing an amazing job. They're still strong enough that they hold all of these layers without anything sliding. So I'm just going to stick another one over here. Okay, so you can see now I have this nice ready to go hooped fabric without using any pins and without basting in the hoop. Now, I love to baste in the hoop, but if I'm working with something that's going to show holes like leather, I'm not going to want to do that because I will have a row of stitching going around my design. I do want to caution you though, you want to make sure you put these SewTites really close to the edge or really far away from your actual embroidery area within your hoop. Okay, so don't stick them anywhere in the hoop where your needle might hit them, because then you'll break your needle. So be careful about that. But basically, I am super excited about using these for embroidery as well as sewing. So exciting news. In the description below, you will find my affiliate link. If you use the affiliate link to purchase something from SewTite, you get 15% off. Head over to SewTites and get yourself some of these. I kind of wish it were the holidays, because this would make an amazing stocking stuffer for all of your favorite sewers on your gift list. But you will be seeing me use these in my upcoming videos on various things when I don't want to use a pin. And if I am using a pin, you may see me wearing my very cool magnetic pin holder that they also make. I've worn it here, and actually I also experimented with wearing it on my sleeve as well, because sometimes I want to have it somewhere where I can just, see my pins. So you can see it works really well on your sleeve too. So you can put it wherever is convenient for you. So I am super excited about this company. They have a few other things. They sent me some SewTite digits. So if you want to use these to mark different sewing steps, these are removable stickers. And the other thing that comes to mind here is if you are working with sewing a top that has a sleeve, you can also use these SewTites to stick your armhole notches to your sleeve cap notches when you're sewing as well. Like, I'm just thinking of so many different things. You could use them to mark the right and wrong side of your fabric. You know how you're cutting something out, the right and wrong side looks the exact same way. Well, if you put your SewTite on the fabric, so the color, the decorative color side is on the right side and the metal is on the wrong side, you'll never have to guess which is the right or wrong side of your fabric. That's another thing I'm thinking of. If I kept going, I would probably think of more ways I'm going to be using these. So look for more tips on SewTite magnetic pins in upcoming episodes of Fit Tip Tuesday or FabFit Friday, because these are going to be something I'm going to be using quite frequently. I'm like super excited. All right, so I hope you enjoyed my little unboxing video, even though I couldn't wait to unbox them with you. These things are amazing. I'm super excited, and you will be seeing me using them in lots of different ways in upcoming Fit Tip Tuesday and FabFit Friday lives. If you'd like to get yourself some, head down to the description below and click my affiliate link and get 15% off your purchase. So it's kind of a win-win. And thank you guys so much for watching. Next week, I'm going to be showing you a t-shirt top that needed to be shortened significantly. And I started working with that. There's a post on my Instagram for that where I showed you my suggestion for getting rid of excess vertical length on the back of a tee. And what I'm going to do next week is show you what the final answer was and how the back of this tee was shortened right up to perfection. So join me for that next week for Fit Tip Tuesday. And this Friday, I am going to be starting the Sorsha Classic Slim Trouser Sew Along. So if you haven't gotten your copy of this pattern, there's still time. That's going to be live at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So I will see you for that on Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching. Get yourself some SewTites. They're so cool. And I'll see you again really soon.